everyone, this is Georgia with Georgia's Crafty Creations, and today I'm going to be showing you a card I came up with. I wanted to do a magic color slider card, but I wanted to take it a step further and see if I could make it into a shaker card. And this is the result. As I slide it out, your truck's revealed underneath, and I have my nice shaker card that you can shake. Now this is part of the design team for Maymay Made It. We're going to use her stamp set. Now the stamp set we're going to use is Memory Lane. We're going to be using the truck, the pumpkins, and Gather a Harvest of Love. Secondly, you're going to need 2 sheets of digital paper. This is from Melody Lane Designs. It is the Holly digital paper set number 2, and you'll need 2 8.5 by 11 sheets. Now from the Holly paper set, you're going to cut a card base that is 7 inches by 10 inches, and it's scored at 5 inches. Now I am using 110-pound cardstock because I wanted this card to have some sturdiness to it. You're also going to cut a piece that is 5 by 7 and a piece that is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. This is going to go on the inside. And then from white cardstock, you're going to cut a white mat, which is 4.5 by 6.5, and this is going to go inside your card. And then you're going to cut a piece for your slider. This is 4 by 5.5 inches. And then you're going to cut 3 little strips. 2 of these strips are 1/4 inch by 6 inches, and 1 is 1/4 inch by 4 inches. And we're going to set that aside. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is actually stamp your truck and color it, because that's going to be the longest portion of this. So we're going to go ahead and stamp our truck, and I'm stamping on a piece of Spectrum Noir paper because I'm going to color mine with alcohol markers. But if you wanted to do it in watercolor, you could use watercolor paper. If you want to do color pencils, you could just use regular cardstock. And the first thing we're going to stamp is our pumpkins. Now the other thing you want to do with your pumpkins, I use Brutus Monroe masking tape or masking paper to make a little mask for my pumpkins, so that once we stamp these, we're going to cover it with the mask. So I'm going to just step my pumpkins there, and I'm going to stamp this with Memento ink, Tuxedo black ink. And we need to stamp it one more time. That's why I like using my Misty, is so I can stamp it again if I need to. There we go. And I'm going to wipe my stamp off because we're going to be using it in a little bit again. Set it aside. Now I'm going to put my little mask over my pumpkins. Just cover that up because we're going to stamp our truck next. Now what you want to do with your truck, you'll see there's 2 lines here. You want to line your pumpkins up with this second line, not the very bottom, but the second one. And you're just going to line that up. Get it where it looks pretty good. And then you're going to stamp your truck. And the truck looks pretty good. So once again, I'm going to wipe my stamp off because I will be using it in a little bit again. And then you'll watch when I pull my mask off there, my pumpkins should be sitting in the bed of the truck. Like that. So I'm going to set my mask aside. Now what you're going to do is go ahead and you can color it first or you can fussy cut it first. I like to fussy cut it. And actually mine, if you have a scan and cut, I just take this over to my scan and cut, scan it in, and let it cut out. Now I've already colored mine just to save on time. And we're going to go ahead and bring that over, and I'll show you what the truck turned out like. Now as you can also see, I cut out the center window just so when it's put together you can see through the window. So we're going to go ahead and set this aside for a moment. The next step we're going to do is we're going to take our acetate pieces and we're going to put these together, and we're going to take our little 3 strips and we're going to use 1/4 inch double-sided tape to put on these. And I'm just going to put it on my strips of paper. Now what these act as is a guide and also a little end piece inside to keep your card from going all the way in. And you only need 3 strips because you want to leave the end open for your card to come in and out of. Now while I've got my tape over here, I'm going to go ahead and take 1 piece of my acetate. Let's move those apart for a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and put tape on all 4 sides of this piece, and you'll see why in a little bit. We're going to make the pocket for the inside out of 2 pieces of acetate. I did it first using cardstock, and it just came out super thick for a card and kind of clunky. So I wanted to come up with a way that it wasn't so thick. Now we're going to flip this piece over. We're going to take our 2 long strips first. This is the fun part, always getting this tape, because your piece of tape kind of covers your strips. And we're going to take these strips and put it clear up to the top edge and take it down to the bottom. Okay, now that we have those 3 strips on there, throw my garbage away here, we're going to go ahead and put double-sided tape on top of our strips. Now when you do the bottom, I'm going to lift this up a little bit on each side because I want to make sure and get a good seal here so that our little, whatever we use for inside our shaker, doesn't come into our acetate window. So I want to overlap these. And then we're going to go ahead and get this started. Then we're going to take our other piece of acetate, and I'm going to line it up here at the top first because I want to make sure my tops match. And lay those down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this. I'm going to pull this bottom piece first and smooth that over. Then I'm going to pull this piece. And there we have our envelope, which I will cut another white piece. I'm just going to show you that where your slider portion will go in and out of. So now we're going to take our 5x7 piece. Make sure I have the right piece. Yep. This is for the front of our card, which is going to use our shaker. Now I'm using a Spellbinders die. This is approximately a 4x5 inch die, and it's shaped. And I want to bring this down. I want to make sure I have at least 1/2 inch at the top and on either side to where my foam tape for my shaker will be hid behind the window. And I'm going to line this up. I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of washi tape on my die to hold it on there. And then I'm going to take this and run this through my Gemini. You can run it through whichever die cut machine you have, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're here. We have the front of our card, and this piece, you don't need it for the card. You can take it out and just save it for another project. I'll pull that out later. Now, for this piece, you're going to take and flip it over, and you're going to take your envelope, where we put the 4 pieces, you're going to go ahead and pull this tape back. And once again, I just started a little bit. That way I can make sure I have it lined up where I want before I stick it all the way down. We're going to start all 4 sides. We're going to start it down here because we overlapped at the top. Now you're going to want to get the open portion of your envelope. You want to make sure where that's at, which mine is up here. You want to make sure this open portion goes to this end of your card. So I know my opening's there, so I'm going to turn my card. I'm going to line it up at the top first because I'd like it as close to the top as possible. And that looks pretty good there. You have a minute to adjust it. If you had your tape all the way down, it'd be harder to pull it up. And then our top. And you're going to want to make sure to smooth these down really good because you want no openings in it for pieces to come into your window. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to grab my Misty again. And we're going to bring our top for our card and put it into our Misty. And then we're going to take the truck that you colored, we're going to slip it underneath here. We're going to kind of figure out where you want it in your card. And whether you can also angle it up, you don't have to keep it straight. In fact, I think this one we're going to angle a little bit. So he's kind of like going uphill. Okay, and then I'm going to put my magnet down. I'm going to keep that piece there. I'm going to put this as close as I can to my pumpkins. And then I'm going to take my pumpkin stamp and I'm going to put it right on top of where those pumpkins were. Now this time I'm going to stamp it with Stays On ink because Stays On stays on the acetate pretty well. You might have to stamp it a couple times, but it will stamp it and it will stay. It won't rub off. I'm going to go ahead and press that down real good. And then I'm just going to lift it up to make sure it's stamped. Looks like it's stamped pretty good. So we're going to pull off the pumpkins. Once again, you're going to take that little mask, put it on top of your pumpkins. As you can see, I have well used my pumpkin mask. But I save my mask until they completely wear out because you can use them over and over. Now the truck is real easy to line up this time because you don't have to worry really about lining it up with your line. You just line it up with your truck. And you get it. And I think that looks pretty good. The reason I keep my magnet so close too is sometimes on the acetate, as you can see when you pull up, it pulls it up out of your Misty, and I want to keep it in the same spot as best I can. So we're going to go ahead and ink that up. Time. It's not perfect, but still it will give the effect, so we're going to go ahead and use it. So I'm going to take my little mask off. I found that different acetates too, some of them don't take the ink as well as the others. I'm not really sure why. That is something to investigate and maybe get back with you. So we're going to go ahead and pull this off, and we're going to set the Misty aside because we're done with the Misty. Now while I have this part to stamp, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. And I'm going to just do this with a stamp block. There we go. Even though I had to stamp it twice, it lined up pretty good. And then I'm going to take the 3 little pumpkins and just kind of put them wherever. Kind of in a haphazard way, like they're kind of falling or something. Except they like to stick to your fingers. So we're just going to move it over. Turn that one. And then get our little one. Put it right there. And we're just going to take those, ink them up, and stamp those. And then I'm going to take my larger pumpkin off and take my 2 little ones and stamp them again toward the top. There we go. And that looks pretty good. And we're done with our stamping. And actually, I'm not sure I'm happy with this truck, so I think we're going to redo it. We'll see. Yeah, it doesn't line up real good, so I'm going to get set up again and we're going to redo this front. I tend to be a perfectionist. We are going to keep our side. I'm just going to see if I can peel this off the back. And we'll be right back with you. Okay, so I was able to salvage my front and my acetate. I took the one piece of acetate off and just cut another one and put it on. So rather than glue this first, we're going to do something else here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my Misty. This way, if I mess it up again, we can redo it again. But see, if you have mistakes, you just go with it and do what you can to fix it. So, let's turn my Misty this way. I'm going to go ahead and set my acetate down. And I know my card's 5 by 7, so I'm going to put it right there. And then I'm going to lay my top piece on. Take my little truck, slip my truck where I want it, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to adjust it just a little bit. A little more. Okay, so now I'm going to pull my front off of here since I know where I want the truck. It's still a little sticky from where I pulled it apart. So I think it's never too late to fix a mistake. You just do the best you can. And then I'm going to grab my little pumpkins. I'm going to slip my pumpkins on here. And I want to make sure that I'm doing the right side of this that I want it to do. Plus I got to make sure, yep, that's my opening. Yep, that's the side I want to do. And go ahead and put that down. We'll move that to that side. We're going to put our pumpkins down. And we're ready to try it again. I find if you never make a mistake, things just seem to be too perfect. So making mistakes is just part of life. You just try and try it again. And let's hope that it works this time. Press that down really, really good. Yay, we have good pumpkins. I'm going to slip them back under there. Well, actually, I'm going to take this off. Get it lined back up with my pumpkins. I'm going to put my magnet over here this time. And don't forget to put the mask on your pumpkins. I did that when I was designing the card and I had to re-stamp it. There we go. Then we're going to put our truck down again. And that looks pretty good. And I'm going to move this out just a little bit so I'll be able to push down on that truck real well. And I'm going to ink this up really, 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 really good. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to pull it apart twice. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to do what they call the CPR. And I am going to push this really hard. Because I want it to stamp. Okay, let's see what we got. And we have success. I'll pull that out to show you under my hand. So now we're ready to continue with putting our card together. I'm going to go ahead and pull my mask off of there. I'll clean my stamps up when we're done. Now we can move on to the next step, which is putting it to the front of our card. Now you want to make sure and put the right side to your card. So we want to put our double-sided tape on this side. Also, don't be afraid to show your mistakes. We're all human, we all make mistakes. That's how we all learn. I'm going to pull that bottom one off of there. Which I didn't mean to do, but we're going with it. So now I'm going to line up my top again, which it's a little crinkly here, so it's going to be a little trickier this time. That looks good. Go ahead and smooth the bottom down. And smooth that down good. Like I said, you want this sealed really, really well. And do you see the mistake I did that time? I stamped it upside down. Well, you know what? We're going to go with it and finish the card. When you do it, just don't do what I did and stamp it on the wrong spot. We got a good truck impression. We're going to go with it. Right? Happy accidents. It's just, can I live with that accident? And knowing me, I probably can't. I'm trying to figure, I know how we can fix it. It should be like that, which is not bad. We don't have to take any tape off because that'd be okay. It's going to be covered with foam tape later. So I'm just going to lay that down. That was easier than I expected. I thought I was going to have to take it apart. Just put double-sided tape on this side. And that's not going to work because my truck is facing in the wrong direction. I am going to have to do it the other way. So let's just go ahead. Let's rip it apart. We're going to look at this. We need to be that direction. So that's how we want it. So I still have sticky. We're going to take our envelope. Okay, we can fix this. What we're going to do, this is what we want facing. We want it facing that direction. So we want an opening at this end. So what we're going to do to fix this, let me grab a pair of scissors. We're going to cut this end off where the sticky is at. I think that will still give us room. And yeah, I could start it all over, but I'd like to salvage if I can. We already wasted one. I don't want to waste another. Okay. Let's flip this over. And let's see if that's going to give us enough room. And it will. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue this piece to that so we don't mess it up again. So I'm going to get some double-sided tape on there. Let me flip it this way so you guys can see. Yep, that's the way we want it. I guess by me making the mistakes, you'll see what not to do. And believe me, the perfectionist inside of me is saying scrap it and start all over again with video and all. But I just don't think that's good to do. I want to show you what we do wrong too. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start these pieces off like I did before. It's just going to be when I cut my little panel for the inside for this card, it's going to be a little smaller than what it normally would be. Okay, so let's get this part on here. That looks good. And of course my tape would tear, wouldn't it? Okay, now that we have that piece down, I'm going to grab our window piece, and because these got torn off, we're going to have to put more strips on. So let me grab another piece of cardstock. And I'm going to do this a little bit cheaty way, but we're going to do it. We're going to put our tape down. And actually, we can still leave this one the size it is. Well, nope, I don't want to do that. We're going to go ahead and cut the end off of this one too, because I want my strips to be in the right spots. What I'm going to do this one at a time. Rather than pre-cut the strips, we're just going to lay the paper down and then cut it off. So we're going to start with the long ones. I am just having a fumbly today, guys. Fumbly day today. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this right on there. And I'm going to just take my scissors and trim it off. And we'll just do that around all three sides. Okay, and then now we can get this glued onto there. Okay, now get this lined up. There we go. Now it's the right side. Now we can finish putting together our card. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our base. I'm going to go ahead and fold that. Give it a good crease to it. Then we're going to take this and we're going to put double-sided foam tape. We're going to do the long ends first. And then you're going to take another piece, because you don't want stuff coming clear down to here. You're going to put it clear up at the bottom edge of your die cut area. And this one I am going to cut with my scissors because I'm going to kind of tuck it down in a little bit to make sure it's there. That looks pretty good. And then you're going to take your truck and you're going to flip it over, and you can see I've stamped and then messed up the stamp, so I had to flip it over. But once again, you live and learn. So we're going to put, these are bigger just foam pads. We're going to put 2 across the bottom of the car. And probably 2, yeah, we can fit them across the top too. Not through the window though, you don't want to get it in your window. Okay, now to assemble your card, make sure you know which way your card's opening, because I don't want to glue upside down again. So we're going to go this way. So I'm going to flip my piece this way so I know I go back this way with it. I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper off of these bottom 2 pieces. But on the other 3, I'm just going to start them. We do not want to pull them off. You want to leave those on there. You just need to get them up to where you can get them started when you're ready to put them on. Same thing with the top, and you only want to start a little piece of the top because you're going to be putting your filler in the top side. So you're going to turn this over and you're going to line it up with your card. And I'm doing this upside down, so hopefully it will be, I'm going to pick it up. Yep, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and press down on these bottom 2, because I do want those sealed in. Now, we're going to take our truck. We're going to go ahead and peel these off our papers on our truck. They are overlapping just a little bit, but that's okay. You give it a little more dimension. Okay, then you're gently going to lift up your card. Except it's stuck up here at the top. I didn't want it. There we go. And you're going to bring your truck in here and you're going to line it up with that colored portion. And once you have it lined up, you can go ahead and press your truck down. And I'm going to go ahead and lift up this top piece because, like I said, I don't want that one down yet because I want to smooth these other two sides up first. I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to pull this one out. Tuck that in a little bit, and we're going to smooth it real good. Same thing with this side. And you can see a little bit of my white there, but when I put filler in, it won't matter. So I'm going to grab my filler, and what I'm using are these pop micro beads. I'm using a tiny green, red, and gold. And you do not, if you're using the micro beads, it doesn't take a lot. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pull open here at the top and kind of open it up a little bit, just a hair. And you're just going to pour a little bit of beads, not too many. It does not take much. A little more red. And a little green. Let's see. Yep, we're going to stick with that. Then once you get your beads in, you're going to pull this down, pull out your paper, and smooth this down really, really good because you do not want your beads coming out. And then you can, the other thing I thought would be really cool to put in this one, and I know I have some, but I couldn't find them, would be confetti leaves. Like fall leaves. I have some tiny ones somewhere, but I don't know where they're at. So now we're going to cut a new piece for the slider since I did not get that right. And I'm going to measure, since I cut this, we're just going to do it and trim it off. Let me grab my cutter up here. And I'm going to cut this 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to check that to make sure. Yep. By 5 1/2. Now, let's go ahead and get that started in. Except I can't see what I'm doing this time. There we go. Just need to get my window open. Put your slider in. Let's see if that's a good size. Yep, that's perfect. So, and then when you open it up, you have your truck, you have your confetti or beads or glitter, whatever you want to use. The other thing I thought would be neat, but I couldn't find a stamp for it. I didn't want to do pine trees, as if you have a stamp of a normal tree that you could stamp a tree up here. Now, on the end of this slider, I'm going to take my craft knife and just put a slight cut in it. And I'm going to grab my ribbon, and we just need a little piece of ribbon. We're going to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to feed my ribbon into the hole. And I'm going to get a piece of double-sided tape and put it actually on the top of the cardstock all the way up my ribbon. And we're just going to trim that off. And then we're going to take it and put it back in our card. I didn't put a stopper on this one because this comes in and out so easy that I didn't really see a point to put a stopper. And I didn't want to make the card any thicker since I was doing the micro beads inside. And then the only thing you have left to do is take your mat for the inside, put some tape runner on it. And I purposefully did not put a sentiment on the inside of this one. I normally do. But I thought that way you could leave it open to be a birthday, thinking of you, anniversary, Thanksgiving, whatever occasion you want to use it for. I think if you have a fall birthday for a guy, I think it would be great. There we go. And then you're going to just take that and put your mat to the inside. And there you have it, a Magic Color Slider Shaker card. Sorry the video was so long, but I really wanted to leave my mistakes in so that you guys could see what not to do, and if you saw the mistakes I made, it might help you to kind of be careful. Sometimes I get in a rush and just try to go too fast. So if you make this card, share it over on Maymay Made It's page on Facebook. You can also share it on my page, George's Crafty Creation. And I'll leave all the links below for the stamp set, the paper, and the pages where you can find it. Have a great day, everybody. Happy crafting. Bye.